Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Human Energy Field with our very special guest, Connor Boardman of Middle-earth Crisis Podcast.
What's going on, lads?
All
How
right,
you
Connor
doing?
lad.
You're right.
Yeah, mate. Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, coming through just fine, mate. Coming through fine.
Loud and clear.
I've got to warn you, right? I've got some plumbers in, so if there's some banging,
Right.
that'll be them, not me, for
If-
a change.
If there's some disturbance in the warp.
Exactly, yeah. If my Gellerfield ain't working, then that's it.
Oh, we're off to a strong start.
That's it.
So how's things going, man? And how's your podcast going as well? Tell us a little bit about how that's going with you and Paolo.
Decent, yeah. So we recorded a show like 3 weeks ago. I've got that thing where I hate listening to my own voice, so it takes me. I have to build up to try and like edit it. You know what I mean? So I'm working on the my confidence on that, and I'm gonna try and oh, there they are. If you can hear them, I'm gonna try and work my confidence to try and do that. But yeah, we've been going off like here lately. We've been talking about Warhammer Fantasy Battle on the podcast lately, going back to 8th edition because 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle. We're a bit bored with Age of Sigmar and 9th edition at the moment, so yeah.
Well, I've been. I don't listen to many podcasts actually, but obviously I listen to Dungeon Pugs, and I've been listening to you guys as well. So I've got a few questions about Age of Sigmar and stuff like that to throw at you when we're ready.
Yeah. How are you lads anyway? How's this going?
Really good, thank you. We had absolute blast. We did a big recording session yesterday with we had quite a few people come in and out. That was a lot of fun, and we spoke to Stephen for a while, and we were talking about how, among many other things, how a lot of wargamers don't like to play backwards editions like they do with RPGs. So it's funny that you just said you've moved from Age of Sigmar back into Warhammer Fantasy, because we were saying last night how that's quite a rare occurrence for people to do. Wargamers tend to want to try and stay at the head of the game in that way, don't they?
Yeah, because Steve was saying he'd moved to Kings of War just because
Yeah.
because 8th didn't exist anymore, and I was like, well, it does exist. You just
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's one of the things, though, isn't it? Like you've got to get like a group of people in on it. Like you can't just do it on your own. Like.
Yeah.
And it takes a big investment as opposed to RPGs where you just get like a book. You need like your movement trays and all that shit. I guess it's not too bad if it's Kings of War's Wave, but even still, you got to get your books off eBay and all that. It's just it can be a bit of a pain in the ass, but I feel like it's worth it with 8th edition personally. And even me and Paul are even thinking of playing 6th and 7th and stuff. So
oh
we'll see.
man, my long term opinion has always been that 6th edition.
Never played it, yeah.
Do you know what? It's probably the best version in my opinion.
That's cool. Okay. That's interesting. Well, I've got some ogres, so I think they were out in 6th, weren't the ogres?
They first came out in 6th edition, yeah. They got their first army book. So
Sound. I was going to try and run them as Dogs of War, but if they've already got a 6th edition book.
yeah, they've got a full codex, but I mean it's quite thin on the ground because the range wasn't really that wide. So you've just got your main troops and a couple of characters. You've got your noblars and that, but
Yeah, like lead belchers, because that's pretty much what I'm just going to be rocking.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sound. Yeah, I'll rock some lead belchers then. I like the look of like a heavy ogre army. I think it looks pretty sweet.
Yeah, they're beasts, big metal plates. Is that Codex the one with the Karl Kopinski artwork on the front cover?
yes, it is.
Oh, I love that shit, mate.
The
So
ogre
sweet.
artwork's mint in it. It's so
Yeah.
good. Any of that 8th edition and 6th edition artwork's fucking top for Warhammer Fantasy Battles though.
I mean, because I'm an older Warhammer player, I remember, those books coming out in 6th, and the exciting thing was, because we hadn't had ogres as a full army before, or even as new models and everything, new armies didn't come along very often, and still don't really. I mean, Games Workshop have treated us to a lot of different 40k armies in the last kind of 5 to 10 years, but new fantasy armies didn't come along very often back then.
Right. Okay. Weird. Yeah.
Whereas they come out every other day now.
I was literally just gonna say. It's mad, isn't it? It's absolutely mad.
I'm enjoying the new Head of Knights of Slaanesh stuff that they're doing for Sigmar. They're pretty cool, man. The Myrmidesh and all the armored guys with the big top knots and stuff like that. I'm really enjoying them. They're proper cool.
It's got a cool aesthetic to it occasionally, but I don't know. It's just something about Age of Sigmar. It just doesn't like rock with me very well. I think it's probably to do with the artwork because I'm personally not a big fan of it because it looks quite. I think it's digital, the word you'd use. It just looks like it's on a computer as opposed to where like John Blanche's like you can see like all these fucking pencil marks and all that shit. I just like it. There's a little bit more like personality in it, I think, but each to their own in it, I guess.
All right, so because you just mentioned that, I've got this down as one of the questions that I want to ask you, and it's quite a broad question, and I know loads of people have kind of talked about it already, but I just think to start the ball rolling, with the move from the old world over to Age of Sigmar, obviously I can guess that you think it's not a great move. If you're talking about playing 8th and, not fancying Age of Sigmar. But what do you think, if you could kind of encapsulate it, what do you think has been lost in that transition? What are the biggest things that you feel are that have been put to one side?
For me anyway, I view Age of Sigmar as a completely different game to Warhammer Fantasy 8th Edition, because it's a skirmish game for one. I'd probably I'd say it's more similar to 40k. It's just a fantasy version of 40k in my mind.
Yeah.
It's just a completely different game, isn't it? Even like aesthetic wise, it's pretty different now than it used to be in 2013 or whenever it was the last edition was. So yeah, I just think it's a completely different game. What I think's lost, it's just like I feel like the sensibilities of I don't want to say like punky, but I feel like it is pretty punky. It just the grim looking and like old school sleek of it. It's just like gone. And yeah, just I like a bit of a rank and flank game. I think it looks cool. It looks old school. Yeah, I feel it's a completely different game, to be honest. Well, what do you guys think?
I was just curious to see what you thought, because there's a lot of people say they prefer one over the other, but then when you try and tie them down to why, they can't seem to put their finger on it.
Yeah. Because it's a different game, isn't it? I don't know. I just think it is. You can't really compare the two.
I think I know what you're saying. It's a very different game, mass battle game. The mechanics are very different. The aesthetics, as you said, are for me the most notable difference. And I can't knock the modern artwork because some of it is fucking brilliant, but it's very high fantasy.
Yeah, one's high, one's low. That's the real difference for me. One's high fantasy, and if you just prefer low fantasy, you prefer rat catchers crawling around in the gutters and dying of cholera, then you're going to go for the old world. To me, that's what it comes down to, really.
Yeah. The individual stories of the old world, the Age of Sigmar can never recapture those. Like a witch hunter going into a town and try to catch this little necromancer, little motherfucker. There's no such thing as that in the Age of Sigmar, is there?
No.
Because it's all realms and all that. I can't even keep track of it.
It's weird though, because I think they're trying to get those classic Warhammer stories, like that C.L. Werner Witch Hunter style books. I think they're trying to implant that into Age of Sigmar now, and it feels really weird that they're trying to give the new game some of those old world sensibilities.
Shoehorn.
It's probably for people like us, though, isn't it? I get, Henry's just shoehorning in it, try and make us, people like us, interested in it. Which I don't know. It just doesn't. I don't know. There's something weird about it.
It's like that new Warhammer Quest that's coming out. I mean, the minis look fantastic, and it's basically dungeon bash, and it might as well be in the old world. Let's be honest. It might as well be fucking Middenheim or whatever, but it's not. And the thing that it lacks is that they've taken this old world idea, this game, and just planted it in Age of Sigmar. It's got no context.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of video games that are set in the old world, and a lot of other media that GW do that's set in the old world. Even now they're releasing new games for the old world setting, so they're drawing fans, new people who are going, oh, this setting's cool, and then they come in to buy the models and they're like, hang on, what the fuck is this Age of Sigmar? This isn't what Vermintide looks like on my PC. How can I buy into this setting? But then there's no real way for new old world fans, if you know what I mean, to buy into that setting, apart from to have stuff like Curse City and this kind of transplanted idea into Age of Sigmar.
That is weird. I didn't even think about that, Henry. Because there are no new triple Age of Sigmar games, are there?
Yeah. But think how popular Vermintide is and Total War and stuff like that.
Yeah, good shout. Weird.
I mean, even look at Blood Bowl, and they've managed to keep that in what is effectively the old world, even though they argue it's a parallel old world.
Oh, really? Oh, jeez.
Well, that's it. But I'm surprised they didn't bring out Blood Bowl as Age of Sigmar Blood Bowl.
Do that. They could do that, but yeah. Again, I think it lose its sensibilities. I just don't think it won't suit it, would it? It's just what are you gonna a fucking American football realm you know what I mean?
Well, when you think about Blood Bowl, it is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, totally. But it's sick though, so I'll let it off.
Oh yeah, it's great.
So it's really just a matter of taste, is what we were saying in answer to that question, right? It's just a kind of subjective kind of matter of what you prefer.
Yeah, I think so.
I guess. I mean, it doesn't have the history to it. It doesn't have the same GW tongue-in-cheek context that has been built up over the past few decades.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever will.
Yeah,
no, I don't think it ever will. Yeah.
I even think modern 40k's lost its tongue-in-cheek thing to it, to be honest.
I think 40k started taking itself way too seriously a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the fluff defo, what Henry said before, it's gone from low sci-fi to high sci-fi, if that's even a thing.
Yeah, that's even a thing. Yeah.
Is now.
Totally.
But what I liked about the old world, fantasy old world, is you've got these parallels to things that we are familiar with, like Kislev, Cathay. You can say, oh, that's fantasy Poland, that's fantasy China. You can actually kind of relate back to an idea. If I like the aesthetic of a certain country, I can go to the Warhammer Old World and find something that fits with my preferences, and then play that on the battlefield. And Age of Sigmar is like water elves and like high fantasy space marines. There's no real life parallel that you can draw from, I don't think.
Well, let's not forget that, and you've mentioned it on Middle Earth Crisis before, Connor, when you and Paolo have been talking, that they've changed everything because it's to protect intellectual property. You kind of have high elves because they were basically Tolkien and whatever. So now you have elves with an A, and luminous realm lords and all other sorts of fancy names because they can protect their IP. So I guess you kind of blame them for that.
Yeah, totally. They've even done that with 40k as well, haven't they? Like with the Astra Militarum and all that. Yeah. And you probably get like the hardcore GW fanboys and stuff saying, "Oh, you can't call him Imperial Guard." And it's like seriously, just get a life, man.
All right. So my next question is, and one of the things I like when I'm listening to Middle Earth Crisis is, you do spend a little bit of time talking about the painting side of it, and
like
painting techniques and actually modelling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So in terms of models, the synopsis of my question is bigger better? Because GW are doing a lot of big size models, a lot of big monsters, a lot of big characters. Do you think that's a good move, or do you think that's not?
I think gameplay wise, I'd probably say no. Just because I like the look of 40k when it's like squad. When you've got squads. So like I'm playing. You probably hate this for me playing this, but I'm playing Primaris at the moment. And I'm just doing I've got tons of squads of 5 and no vehicles or anything like that, and just squads of 5 and dreadnoughts, because in my head that's
the way I love 40k.
Exactly, yeah, literally that's the way I picture Marines on the battlefield or whatever, fighting just dreadnoughts and fellas. So I'm just not big of a fan of it. But I say that, but I've got 2 Wraith Knights at home, But I've not touched them or anything. I just wanted them because I like Power Rangers or whatever when I was a kid. So there are some pluses. I guess it can get people into the game, I feel like. And there's definitely things where you watch them online and people have got knights with Imperial Guard, and you got Eldar with Wraith Knights and all that. It definitely draws people in to the 40k hobby or the Age of Sigmar hobby. So I do appreciate it for that, but my personal taste is I haven't used anything bigger than a Land Raider in probably fucking 7 years or something. Wow. So that's probably it. Yeah.
So you haven't been tempted to go out and get a Magnus or a Mortarian or...
Yeah, they're just not feasible. I don't know. I just don't play big enough games. I think big games of Warhammer just don't work. I haven't got 4 hours to play a 2,000 point game, and I haven't got the money to all the time to play collect and paint that much stuff. So I'm all right with my 1,500 points, and I'll get a little dreadnought every 2 months or something. I just think that's the kind of way me and Paolo play 40k. It's very I think that's a very weird way of playing, but that's just our personal taste. So yeah, in short, I do like the look of them, but I wouldn't use them.
That's fair. Because there's a lot of them coming out more and more for Age of Sigmar. These big, ultra detailed. I mean, you've got to give credit to GW for the design and the complexity of these plastic models is beautiful, and you can't knock that. But I look at them as they're more like ornaments than playing pieces to me.
Imagine trying to paint that. I'm not a great painter. I just couldn't fucking do it. I mean, I definitely appreciate people who can paint, and I'm going, that's fucking cool. Right, what's next? Just don't know. It's just it's mad, isn't it? It's mad.
Yeah, it is.
And they're fucking £100. That in itself. They made the price that I don't want to fucking moan on your podcast, but I do that. I do that for mine. But the price of this shit it's just going mental now.
Do you know what it is? It's interesting you mentioned price, because I was having a chat with someone the other day, pal of mine, and one of his other friends was trying to get him to play Star Wars Legion.
Right.
And I was like, that makes 40k look cheap.
Yeah.
So it's not that GW aren't the only guys knocking out really expensive models. Anywhere you go to get the Song of Ice and Fire minis aren't cheap. Star Wars minis are not cheap. Do you know what I mean? It's an expensive hobby no matter who you're buying off.
You won't think that though, would you? Because
No.
I don't know. I don't want to say all it is like 3D design stuff and then you print them, but because I don't know what goes into it, to be honest. You probably know more about that than me, Jamie. But it just seems like way too much. Like I don't know, for me anyway. Especially when you see stuff from China and that. Like I know people have got stuff from China and it's just so much cheaper and the quality of the resin's like top notch as well.
Yeah, me and a few of my pals got some Russian Forge World stuff
Oh yeah.
a couple of years ago, and to be honest, I was getting some Tau like big gun drones and stuff, and they were beautiful,
Yeah.
absolutely wonderful.
Fraction of the price as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I think for me the biggest thing about the plastics and the pricing is GW's inability to move away from points equals pounds. So how can you possibly charge, I don't know, 20-25 quid for a character when the amount of plastic involved is so small compared to a 30 quid squad? Like, that's just bonkers. And they've always overcharged for characters.
I think that's the thing of like a person's only ever going to want one of these, as opposed to like a tactical marine squad where you could get like 3 of them. That must be included in the price somehow. Because especially with like special characters and stuff, how many people are going to have a Magnus? Like, not many people play 1,000 Suns, and then how many of those players? I don't know. Yeah, that kind of thing. I don't know.
But what they're doing basically is they're making you pay more money to have something that's better on the battlefield.
Yeah. Which is it's very smart because people pay that shit. I paid for that shit, you know. So yeah.
It's almost pay to win kind of thing. And
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
To a degree, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, defo.
You just do what I do and just go on eBay and try and find second-hand shit for cheap. All of my bits and sprues and stuff here are all second-hand stuff that I've got for half the price.
The thing is, the hobby's been around long enough now that the secondary market is just awash with stuff. So anyone who's a bit savvy and a bit like is willing to be patient can always pick up a deal. That's the thing.
Yeah, man.
And it actually boggles my mind who walks into a GW and pays full price for shit nowadays.
Yeah.
But lots of people obviously do.
You're going for like a paint occasionally. Oh, I really need this color. But then again, I'll like Fanboy Free or whatever's around the corner anyway. So, what your local, your friendly local gaming stores like around the corner. So I'd rather just go to them. But yeah, it's weird, isn't it? People have made like livings off it. Like
Without doubt.
Yeah, like Monster Merchant and all that. They like just that's their job in it.
Monster Merchant's great. Shout out those guys.
You could spend all day buying and selling GW stuff and not run out of time. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah. Anyway, right. So my next question.
Oh.
Yeah, go on, move on.
And you've already hinted there that you're running Primaris. So the Primaris issue, the GW's basically scale change on Marines from their previous size up to now. How do you think they handled that? How do you perceive that change?
I like them, me. I think because I've never really played Marines before, and then when I got back into painting in 9th edition, I wanted something that was low model count, easy to paint, and just easy to fuck about with model wise.
Right.
So essentially, Primaris were like pretty much perfect for me to use. The little bit of an issue I had with them is that they were trying to replace those mini Marines that everyone had.
Yeah.
But I think recently with the 9th edition codex, they've kind of made up for that because they've given 2 wounds and all that kind of stuff. But I think this is kind of like a last hurrah for the mini marine thing. I think they'll get rid of them in 10th edition or whatever the new codex is. So I think this is just like a scheme from GW to like, oh yeah, mini marines are sick. Look at all these Vanguard veteran stuff. Buy them. And then all of a sudden it'll be like they'll click it and then it's gone. That's like, what do they call it, legends or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I was surprised that they found their way into the most recent codex.
Yeah.
Because the Space Marine codexes have been coming out thick and fast. But I think whenever the next Marine codex comes out, it won't have mini Marines in.
No, which is such a shame because the reason why I like Space Marines is because I like Terminators and I like Dreadnoughts and I like Land Raiders. I don't really like Aggressors or Eradicators or I can't remember the names of them. They've all got shit names as well. Just like the style points have just gone down from the Primaris. They've got like, I'm gonna keep referring to what Henry said because I like it. It's just gone from like low to high sci-fi kind of thing. So
agreed.
it's shit really, innit?
But I mean, how else could they have done it? Because let's be honest, the problem was the Marines were too small.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Everything else is too small as well. Like I feel like you can't do one without the other. Because like how big is an Eldar Guardian? They're fucking massive. They're like 7 foot elves, aren't they, or whatever they are. So even then, I feel like you've got. I know it's a slow process, but like I think a lot of the aspect warriors are from the 90s, so you've got to pick and choose really.
Oh man, the whole Eldar range is so overdue and uplift. It's crazy.
It really. I'm an Eldar player like through and through. I've got Harlequins, Drukhari, and Drukhari. Fucking hell! I was listening to fucking. Oh man, you're gonna have to edit that out. I've got Eldar, Dark Eldar, and Harlequins, all of them. So yeah, they're like my favorite, and like I can't actually play them because the models are just like fucking so shit. So it really upsets me. Harlequins is a little bit less, but
The Drukhari,
he did it as well. He did it as well. So I'm alright.
the Dark Eldar stuff. I mean, when that range got redone back in whatever it was, 4th or 5th edition, 40k. Those models are lovely, man. They're great.
Yeah, the problem with Dark Eldar though is like for me anyway, I just find them really intimidating to model and paint and stuff because they're quite. I don't know. They're just beautiful, aren't they? And they're like very small as well. So
They're very flimsy. Yeah.
I've got like shit big painter hands, so I'm not very good at that stuff. So I'm just gonna fucking put loads of contrast on Marines. Oh, sorry, wait one sec. Right, sorry boys. I've got everyone knocking on my door today. Sorry about that.
Popular kid, mate.
Yeah. Everyone can even talk about 40k. So, oh yeah.
All right. So basically, yeah, what I was saying is, I mean, how else could GW have done it? The Marines needed to be bigger. Should they have just had the balls to say, look, here's some bigger Marines without all of this kind of new background that had to kind of force in?
Yeah. Oh god, I forgot about that as well. That's just that's pretty shocking, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. It doesn't even make sense to me. Like they're just redoing like the most popular army. I don't know what they're going to do with the fluff. Like I think there's going to be I think there's going to be like a second heresy kind of thing. With like this, like the split instead of it being Horus or whatever, it's going to be like some mini Marine dude versus the Gilliman or whatever. I don't know. I think they're going to have to do something like that for it to actually make sense or something.
Wipe out the mini Marines in fluff.
So. Like Thunder Warriors did or whatever, like the same kind of thing. That's the only thing I can think like how they do it, but I don't know how they do it better, to be honest.
I mean, to be honest, I think they're just, as you said before, I think they're just slowly forcing them out. I mean, most players, even if they got upset and they got really distraught about it at first when they were resizing the minis, and I think most of those guys now and girls have just bought big Marines, and their mini Marines are just gathering dust anyway. So I think most people have switched over naturally. There's only a few die-hard people who refuse to buy any fucking models playing with the old stuff, and to be honest, GW is probably thinking, well, fuck them, they're not buying anything anyway.
Totally, yeah. You're right, yeah.
And that was the problem with Warhammer Fantasy. No one was fucking buying anything. That's why they dumped it.
Yeah, defo. I think, but I feel like there's some things that they can't replace, like I say, and again, Terminators and Dreadnoughts. I don't know what they do with them because I don't know.
Well, you've got a new Dreadnought.
Yeah, but it's shit though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's no boxy dread, mate.
No, but mate.
Yeah, no, but I mean, we might love that boxy dread, but you look at it and it is boxy. I mean, it is.
I bought 3 of them, mate, when I started Marines. I love them, mate. There's just something about them.
Yeah, they look sick.
I cannot understand why you would buy one of them and not buy a plastic Contemptor.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But I think that's down to like personal taste again. I love that boxy Marine look.
But then your Primaris Marines next to that old style Dreadnought, they can't be much different in size, are they?
My captain's nearly as big as him. Like,
exactly.
Wow.
I call him the loaf. He's fucking huge, man.
But one thing that sucks about the replacing the Marines is that you've got to now have Primaris, Dark Angels, Space Wolves, Blood Angels, special units. Like everyone's got their. How many collectors had a Space Wolves army and they've done all the conversions to make them look like Space Vikings, and now all that stuff is useless, and all you've got for Primaris range is the like RTB, like just the standard looking Marines. There's nothing. There's no character to any of them yet. So that's really what's going to draw people in, I think.
Yeah, I don't think like Thunderwolves and Black Knights and all that stuff.
Yeah, White Scars. All the sickest chapters are yet to become Primaries.
Well, I guess they all are, but they will expand the range into
they better
unique box sets. It'll be once the old box sets filter out. So I mean, for instance the Space Wolves. I mean, once you get rid of fucking Grey Hunters and Blood Claws and all that kind of stuff, once they are actually no longer available,
Yeah.
You will get like probably some weird dedicated Space Wolf Reaver style unit, and they'll be called Young Wolves or some shit. You know what I mean?
They're doing that with Kill Team, aren't they? There's like
Yeah.
a special Reaver squad. I've got them. They're pretty cool, to be honest. But
Oh,
I'm
cool.
quite excited for stuff like that, though. Like what the future holds in a kind of weird way. Like I want to see what they do with it, and if they fuck it up mostly, because that'd be quite good. Yeah. I mean, have you painted like a mini marine recently though?
Oh mate, I haven't painted anything for years, so
Yeah, I even painting them. There's such a difference. I think there's a difference in like it must be just a difference in the dates though, innit? Like the they've been. I think the Primaries are just better because of how long ago they released compared to the old school stuff. It's just mad.
yeah. I mean, the one thing that the release of the Primaris Marines, one of the good things about it is the scale is far better. So in terms of the heads and the fact that the old shoulder pads from the mini Marines fit on Primaris, it means that they were obviously way too fucking big for the little ones.
True.
The heads fit as well,
Yeah.
which is pretty sweet.
Yeah. So they were obviously they were almost chibi style, the old ones, when you look at them, because they had massive pads, massive guns, and massive heads, and the rest of them was tiny. So
I think they do look great. Like I think like that is what you think in it. That kind of scale with like the longer arms and like they look very like sleek and like finesse almost,
yeah,
which is kind of what you think in the fluff in it. They're like in the fluff they're just like ridiculously like they got good dexterity and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, they're all sword fighting and shit, proper super soldiers.
they couldn't do that with that fucking super boxy armor on, could they? But yeah.
all right. So changing track very slightly, and obviously, and here you're talking now, and I've listened to your podcast, so I know your thoughts on this a little bit. But for the purposes of people who are listening to our show, getting your opinion, the modern game, 40k and Age of Sigmar, tends to push towards a more competitive build and a more tournament environment. I mean, do you think that's something that is really prevalent in the new game? Is it something you get into? Is it something that you allow to affect your games, or is it something you actively try and avoid?
I think overall it's definitely made a massive impact because I think it's built into this edition, which is probably the first edition where that was a thing. They've got like secondary objectives and primary objectives and all that kind of thing. You get to choose them. But personally, I really like that because as like the old school used to be, it used to be okay. You roll a mission, you control 1, 2, 3. There's 5 objectives. You've got to control half of them or whatever at the end of the game. That's pretty easy. Or you got to kill each other. But in these new ones, you've got a little like twist throughout the game and stuff. I know some call it like drunken commander or whatever, but in the game it feels like super dynamic. So you're not just like it's not just like a pitched battle. You kind of like going in and out of stuff. It's like, oh, okay, I need to go over there for this, and oh, what if I go over there? That kind of thing. So I think it makes the game more dynamic personally. But yeah, I think that natural competitiveness in our games, it doesn't really affect it just because of the people I play with. But I can see if you didn't have that much of a friendly group or whatever, I can see it getting a bit cutthroat and a bit like it can definitely put a sour taste in someone's mouth when it's like, I've got to go over here. Why have we got to do that? Like, that's just stupid. But like for us, it's like, I've got to go over here. Right. Okay. That's another thing for me to do. And you're going to try and fuck me over, aren't you? And you're like, yeah, I'm going to try and fuck you over because I want to win too. So it's just, you just want cool shit to happen. Like, and I think it gives you more opportunities for cool shit to happen.
I agree that the trying to force a more kind of dynamic flow into your average game is something that GW have been trying to do all the way from like 3rd, 4th, 5th with the release of battle missions books, back 20 years ago, and and having unique missions in source books and stuff like that, and even chapter approved, that was really good at the beginning of 8th edition for releasing variant missions and stuff. I get that, but what I think I really meant was the way that if you don't own any models and you are getting into GW or you're getting into a new army, it's so easy to go online, Reddit or whatever, and look at the effective tournament list and just buy that.
I honestly, for this conversation, I feel like it's definitely down to who you're playing with.
Yeah.
If you haven't got any mates and you want to get into Warhammer, then doing that and then going down to your local GW, you might be all right because everyone else might be running that.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're playing with your friends, then hopefully, like those people might give you some guidance on doing that. Like that definitely happened with one of my friends. That when they got into it, and yeah, they first started, and I was like, we'll do some 500-point games. And he was like, yeah, but I'm going to get like 2,000 points. Well, I'll play this list. And I was like, nah, you're fucking not. We're going to play 500 points, and I'm going to give you this list to play. And he was like, okay, cool. And now he loves it because it's like I've put him in that mindset of like this is a fun game for both of us, not just for one of us. So let's just like it's like a gentleman's agreement. I know it's a pretty stupid term, but I can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
No, man,
yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it's just that kind of thing. You've got to, I think you've just got to be comfortable who you're playing with, and you've got to have a conversation beforehand if you don't know them.
I mean, I've had friends who have drifted into that kind of more competitive mindset of 40k, and I wouldn't have considered them, and I still don't really consider them competitive people in terms of games, you know. But I think something about the modern game almost kind of ambushes you into competitive builds and competitive play.
Yeah. I think, well, yeah. So this is a bit of a weird conversation with me because I've only played with Paolo obviously because of the restrictions on UK at the moment with lockdown and stuff. You're not really being able to play like other people, have you? But me and Paolo have like we're pretty much just pure infantry based and like 1,000 points, and then we'll just like roll a random mission. We'll just get on with it. So for us, it's not affected us too much. But I can definitely see what you're saying with that. It's ambushing you. It's just forcing you into that competitive nature of it. But again, like if you're asked about it, then just like reduce the amount of like rules it's giving on you. So instead of playing all three objectives, just do two of them or something. Like I don't know.
It's so hard though, isn't it? Because if you've got a mate who is gone out and bought what he thinks is the cool shit because he's read it on the internet, it's cool, and then he rocks up to your house with his models, and you realise what he's taken out of the case is a fucking broken tournament list. You feel bad saying to him, you can't play that, mate. And he's like, well, I've paid money for it and I've painted it, and what do you want me to do? You know what I mean?
Well, if you do that, then we'll just go. Oh, we'll just do 1,500 points, and you've got to take some. You've got to take some of your broken shit out. Like you've got to take 2 heavy support out. Because I feel like that's the fair way of doing it. If you can be a cunt about it, then be a cunt back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good advice for any game, isn't
it? Exactly.
How much of that competitiveness that's baked into the new rules goes back to what we were saying earlier about the kind of pay-to-win aspect of it and charging pounds per points? Like, do you think there's some kind of correlation there between the two aspects of the new versions of Warhammer?
That's a weird question. I think I'm going to say no, just purely because in ninth edition they reduced the amount you actually have to play with. So because they reduced they popped the points up, didn't they? So for this, I'm going to say no. But normally I'd be like, yeah, fuck GW. But I'm actually going to be like, to be fair to them, I think in this case, I'm going to say, yeah, they've done an all right job at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So another change of tactic here. A bit of a dream list, bit of a fantasy thing. If GW brought out anything new tomorrow, what would you like it to be?
Ooh.
Mate, new Eldar, new activated warriors, and all that shit. I'm fine with the grab tanks because they look fucking sick. I love a Prior Prism. I love a Wave Serpent, but give me some new Dark Reapers that look like Dark Reapers, and give me some Fire Dragons that look like they can fucking destroy a Land Raider. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe even new Aspect Warriors, like that'd be cool. Right. You gotta make them cool, but yeah.
We've had a few over the years, haven't we? I mean, I remember what's the ones that Forge World did? Shadow Spectres.
Yeah, they're pretty smart.
And yeah, they're pretty cool. I mean, I don't like any model that moves around on its own scenery, but
I agree.
But they look pretty cool.
That's bad at the moment as well.
That is bad, yeah.
It's the worst.
Every fucking character jumping off a motherfucking every single Harlequin is jumping off a bit of fucking Wraithbone.
There's a thing, especially about big characters as well, that bring their little diorama with them everywhere they go, and that's what I was saying earlier about them looking like ornaments and that. It just they don't look like they're meant to be in the middle of a battle, you know.
No,
they could do some banging new warp spiders with a cool like effect of them coming out of the warp or some shit like that. That would be cool.
Be so sick.
Love warp spiders, man.
So rather than bring out any new faction, no nothing, you just want redone Aspect Warriors.
Focus on the shit you've already got. Like fucking hell, there's the shit from the 90s still in your game. Get a fucking grip. Like, come on. Do you know what I mean?
That's fair.
Like, well, if we're gonna say something new, then You know what I really like? You know those? Did you read the Horus Heresy books? The first three ones. I can't remember which book it is, but they go to a planet with like fucking spiders on it that are like
Yeah.
bipedal.
Yeah.
I want to see them as like a kill team or something. That'd be fucking sick.
Do you know? I mean, we've been treat to quite a lot of new factions over the last couple. Well, that's kind of 3 editions. We've had more factions than we ever had, including the reintroduction of some classic factions, Genestealer Cult and Admech that people wanted all the way from bloody first that we never got. So, I mean, the 40k, they've been treating us with quite a lot of new stuff anyway.
Harlequins as well, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I said this kind of last year, but I think squats are on the horizon, I think.
Oh, I knew you were going to say squats, mate. I was just about to say that. I knew that you were going to say squats.
I just think they've teased it enough now, with a couple of characters in Necromunda and little bits of fluff hints here and there. I think it would have come out already if it wasn't for the global situation. I think next year we'll see squats.
Oh, I'd hate that, honestly.
Why would you hate that?
Because to me, they're not different enough. They'll play like Imperial Guard or they'll play like Space Marines. Give me something different, man.
I can't see them playing like Imperial Guard, man. Honestly, they'll give them like weird land trains and tunneling vehicles, and they'll make all the stuff really unique. They won't just bring it out like it used to be.
This is what do you remember when Dwarves came out in 8th edition with that new army book? I was fucking buzzing. We're gonna get like mechs and all that shit. And they came out and they released like a double gyro bomber or something. I was like, oh, is that it? He's just giving me that. I feel like it. I guess where you're saying it's a new range though, isn't it? So yeah, okay, that's fair enough. But I don't know.
I felt sorry for that dwarf line because that was right near the end of Warhammer Fantasy.
Same with the Wood Elves as well.
Yeah,
it's tight that.
And I think they almost just brought them out because they had them sitting there and they just thought, we're going to blow up this world. We better bring some models out.
Make some fucking cash quick, boys.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to think now what else could come out in 40k. I like the idea of updating the new stuff, like the orc lines. Most of the orc troops are fucking old as shit. I'm sure there are Xenos fans out there who want new orcs.
I think we talked about this on the podcast about orc boys should be like harder than they are. You should have like 2 wounds or something, like or toughness 5 or something.
But then, okay, so you do that then, right?
New
Primaris have got 2 wounds. Orcs have got 2 wounds. How long is it till you've got to give everything 2 wounds?
I don't think it should be played on D6. I think it should be played on D10. Give Marines 3 wounds. Give Eldar 2 wounds. I think 2 wounds should be a base stat. I think anything with 1 wound should be like a grot or something. I don't know. I know that's probably like a stupid thing to say because I've not really worked out in my head, but I think that's the way it should work. And I do like D6, but D10s are fucking smart, and I feel like the percentage-based kind of system will work a lot better for 40k.
I think you're just increasing bookkeeping during the game if you've got to keep track of wound tokens and stuff like that. And I mean, you could argue that you don't need to give stuff more wounds if you just give them better toughness and better saves.
Yeah, I guess so. That was a problem with the Marines though in game. Marines in game were just, mini Marines in game were just so shit because they had 1 wound. The save's weird at the moment because the way armor piercing works, it reduces your save instead of you either get it or you don't, like you did in old editions, and that really hampers the way that like a 3+ save is kind of a bit shit. Like, it's the wounds that really matter, the wounds and the toughness that really matter. So that's why I was just saying for orcs, they should just make them 2 wounds. I don't know. I just feel like orcs are like, they're one of them things where they should be like pretty menacing. And when you see like an orc boy, like he could just get chinned off pretty much anything in the game just because he has no armor save or anything like that. So I think I'm a bit of an orc fanboy though, so maybe that's the reason. But they're not threatening or anything, are they? Like when you see them. It's kind of like a joke, but in the fucking fluff or whatever, like they can chin a Marine pretty fucking easily.
Yeah, they're supposed to be beasts, aren't they?
Yeah, man. Yeah, like 8 feet tall and all that, but they're just in that weird pose, like where they're like twerking, and it's like, oh god, it's just embarrassing.
I mean, that is an old kit now, though. I mean, that is an old model.
Well old. Yeah.
Yeah, but imagine though, like orcs are like the size of knobs, and then you get like a knob who's like fucking like towering above everyone. I think it'd look cool, man.
Yeah. Like that legendary orc from the fluff that's like the size of a planet or something, like the world's biggest orc. All that shit, mate. They should lean into that a little bit more, I think, for sure.
Yeah, like that guy. I know you hate that Gazkul Thraka model, don't you, Jamie?
Oh, yeah. We haven't even got time for me to get into
the walking JCV.
Honestly.
Yeah, it's a bit. I don't mind it, to be honest, but I think that it does look a bit weird. But I like how big he is. That like to me, that's how big he kind of should be. he's like a fucking, what is he like, size of a Redemptor Dreadnought or something. I think that's cool. Like Henry said, he should be the size of a fucking planet if he's the hardest dude ever. But yeah, I don't know.
Massive fuck off
Bigger
orcs.
the better, man. Yeah.
I really like the fucking all the different orders, like the Ordo Malleus and the Hereticus and stuff, and the way that they kind of exemplify the grimdark element of Warhammer, like the missionary models and the little acolyte models with like the little vox speakers, and they're holding up the scrolls, and there's like candles on their shoulders and shit. That to me is like pure Warhammer, and that's the project that I'm doing at the moment. I'm looking at a bunch of models here that are like just out of shot of the camera here, and those are all the stuff that appeals to me the most. Is like the missionary guys, and it's just one dude with a book and a las pistol, just like, oh, praise the emperor, just like get chinned immediately. Those are the things that I love the best, man. They're the greatest ones.
It's very John Blanche, isn't it? That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. That's up my street. That is.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that those models, Inquisition, has been kind of left out of the game for a long time.
That is weird.
No, man.
Yeah, I think they did quite a couple with sisters, didn't they? And Genestealer Cult have those like weird. Oh, my drill's going again. Sorry, lads.
No problem.
You have those like those weird elite choices where they're like 30 points, and it's just like a dude, like with Henry says, a dude with a scroll who's got like a chainsaw, and it's like, what actually does that guy do? He does nothing, but he's pretty sick though.
I've got two groups of sororitas, battle sisters.
Nice.
And a bunch of missionaries, and I got a sprue of Slaneshi demonettes off eBay, and I'm gonna combine the battle sisters with the demonettes, and I'm making like chaos sisters.
Dude, that's sick.
That's my project at the moment, man. I'm gonna have a few units of them, and then a few units of like chaos militia backing them up, and everyone, lots of scrolls and candles and shit. Very, very chaos undivided,
I love it.
Real shit, mate. So I'll have those ready to come down and play with you and Paolo at some point. All right, dude.
Yeah. Have you seen Jack Collister Brown's doing some of that stuff, isn't he? Like Blanchitsu kind of thing.
He's knocking out some great models. I've been
love JCB.
Looking what he's doing on Instagram, and there's some really cool stuff.
Yeah, he's really nailing that aesthetic, even in his drawings as well. I think it's pretty smart.
Those Lestroians, man, are just really good.
Yeah, he's got an eye for the Lestroians for sure. Shout out JCB, dude. He actually sent me a bunch of bits while I was chatting to him, and about this project that I'm doing, and he's like, oh, I've got a bunch of like guard stuff that I'm not using, so I've got bags full of bits and sprues that he sent me like last week or something that I'm putting together for this. So can't thank that dude enough, man. He's really helping me out with this project.
He came around to mine for a painting session, and I think in 3 hours I seen him paint the trousers of one of Astorian. So I don't know how he's gonna paint. I don't know how he's gonna paint all that guard, man. He's like, I just lost it by leather, and I'm like, mate, you barely even touched it.
Yeah, but how good were the trousers though, dude? How good?
Yeah, you're all right. I'll give it that. You're all right.
All right. So I know we haven't got you for too long, Connor. So I didn't want to let you go today without at least quizzing you briefly on the role-playing side of things. But to keep it Warhammer, I want to quiz you about Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay because, I know you've looked at it and, you've said some nice things about the starter box and stuff like that. So, I mean, what's your experience with it? Have you played it? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I played it. There's another podcast called Grognard Files, if anyone's ever heard of that. And I went to that Grog meet, I don't know, maybe 2017, 2018. And we played it there. I think it would have been 4th edition. I'm trying to look at Jamie for some, like, nodding or... I don't know what edition it would have been. Yeah, 4th. And it was fucking... It was sick. It was like, loads of beastmen and some fellas, and it was good. Because I felt like I was going to get battered at like every opportunity, which is kind of what I expected because I was only a little fella, and I was staring down the barrel of a fucking beastman's, not a barrel, that kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to get like be up here, which is kind of cool. That's the only opportunity I've had to play it. I've got the old school 1st edition book, which is I've never played it because reading through the rules, I think it's a bit too what would you call it? It's just a bit too much for me. Like with like singing stats and all that. I'm like, yeah, I'll give that a pass. So
it's interesting though because you're saying you're going back to play 8th edition fantasy and you like that aesthetic and you like your rank and file, and then the old Woofrup you're going, nah, it's not for me.
No, yeah, it's twee. I think I was trying. It's too twee for me. I play 2nd edition Shadowrun with my dad and all that.
Yeah.
And I do like that, but again, for me, I'd rather play 5th because the rules are in my head. I know I'm like a proper rules dude, me, and in my head the rules work better for that game. And then I know, but my dad was saying, yeah, but it's not Shadowrun because it's set in 2077 or whatever instead of 2055. I was like, just set it in 2055 then. In your head, can you just like, can you not make that like mental jump? And that's what I think for like a lot of things. You can kind of make that, you can apply the rules, but just keep the setting the same. But that's one thing in Warhammer Fantasy Battle, the actual tabletop game, that you can't do because it's not the same as Age of Sigmar. But yeah, that's the kind of thing I was thinking for Warhammer Fantasy Battles. Like, sorry, Warhammer Fantasy Battle, so Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, Jesus, is that you kind of like, you can kind of take that thing from the 80s, not the rule set though, because that's like, it's way too much for me. But then use those like quite cut down rules of 4th edition instead. Yeah, that kind of thing. I don't know.
So have you never been tempted to get into those kind of halfway house games like Warhammer Quest or Warcry, or it's got a little bit more skirmish and narrative to it?
I think we played Mordheim quite a bit with my brother, and me and Paolo. What's that thing called with all the cards and that? Is it Warcry? Underworlds. We played that on our dinner break because we worked together. Used to work together. We played that quite a bit. But that's just one of them things where like, it's just out of necessity, isn't it? Like, we want to play some games, and like, you're busy, aren't you? So you just play them little games, and I don't mind them. I've not played much of that stuff, to be honest, because I'd rather just play a 500-point game of Warhammer because you've got all the gear for it in it. So. Because they are different games at the end of the day, and like, if you got a taste of something, then just play that. Like, don't sell yourself short. Just play it.
Yeah, fair play. Good advice, man.
What about you? Have you dabbled in them games recently then?
I mean, I picked up Underworlds when it first came out, and to be honest, it was a bit. The competitive element was baked into the game, so I didn't really enjoy it. And to be honest, Underworlds is very competitive. They kind of brought that out. With the idea of repeating seasons and going into the whole tournament thing. So I mean, it was designed like that. Yeah. So I mean, you can, the competitive lists and stuff, and they're constantly FAQing it and putting bans in and stuff like that. And so they treat it more like Magic, really. That whole Underworlds thing.
Oh, Jamie, when you mentioned Magic, what about the new Magic set?
Yeah, the new Warhammer in Magic now, aren't they, or something?
Oh, we haven't got time to get into Magic, man. Like, do you know what? We haven't even talked about Magic on any of the episodes we've done yet. And once I open the floodgates, so
you're a fan, yeah. You've got all the cards and all that.
Oh, mate. Oh, well, I used to sell more Magic than I sold anything else. Honestly, mad. But anyway, played a little bit of Underworlds, but I just, because some of those little games GW are doing, like Warcry and Underworld, small model count. Lovely models, a bit more of an old world feel about a few of them. I'm surprised they don't tickle your fancy.
It's just one of the things of like, if I've got time to play somewhere, I'd want to play 40k or one of my fantasy battles, like especially because I don't work with Paolo anymore. Like, I can't just go on my dinner break and play. You've got to go to someone's house, and it's like a big thing in it. So then just make it like a big thing. Get like a takeaway or make breakfast or whatever, and then fucking just make a day of it. Just chill, man. That's what it's all about, innit? At the end of the day, you just want to chill your buds.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So yeah, I would definitely give him a go. I think we were going to play Necromunda, but I think that's more of a thing where like it's like that role play thing mixed with the Warhammer thing, like. You know, where you have like not seasons, but yeah, that kind of like weekly thing of like a campaign it sounds pretty cool to me. But again, that's one of them things where I'd like to play that as not just me and him, but with other people, because I think that's best as like a widely shared experience as opposed to like on a micro level.
If you're lucky enough to get 8 people in on a Necromunda campaign, then it's really going to take off, and I realise at the minute that's almost impossible. So.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Unless you play on TTS or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about that later today as well, man, because I've just,
It's all right. I've had some shocking experiences on it though with like actual pieces of shit of human beings. So
I can imagine. But in terms of Warhammer Fantasy role playing, if we get a game going over Zoom or something, you fancy coming to join in with us?
Let's do it, man. Yeah, I'm not the best role player, but I'd definitely give it a go. We've been playing with the FMRPG crew, and that's been decent over Zoom.
Oh, are you playing that esoteric thing that your dad's playing? He was telling us about it. It sounds really good, eh?
Okay, the rule set's cool. It's very is it called AD&D, like kind of old school? Like, I think he's nearly died about 3 times because he's the only one who ever gets shot at. But when you get hit kind of thing. It's pretty cool.
Cool.
I like that kind of like, the criminal element of role playing games as well. It just adds a bit extra, doesn't it? But
playing the bad guys. Is that what you're saying? You like to play a bad guy?
That's it, innit? You want to be the bad guys. Come on.
Yeah, man. It's always the best game. Come on. Play the bad guys for sure.
There you go. Yeah. Same with Shadowrun. That's why I like Shadowrun, because you view yourself as a good guy, but like you're such a piece of shit.
Yeah, even the criminals.
Dude, innit? It's sick.
All right, man. Well, I realise we're almost out of time, so I'll thank you for coming on and
Just
chatting
of
with
its
us.
own. I'm surprised you even invited me. Our podcast is such a shambles. I can't even speak half the time.
I enjoy it, mate. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not just saying it because you're here. I enjoy it.
So yeah. I'm always like proper blown away when people say that. I'm like, we just talk at each other about what we've been doing, and I'm like, I'm just thankful people listen to it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, cheers, lads. I love your podcast as well. It's going well. How are you finding it? It's a weird experience, isn't it?
It is. Every day is a school day, isn't it? So
yeah, man.
Yeah, definitely learning things as we go. We're kind of treading on new ground every time we do something. We're figuring it out for the first time, but it's a lot of fun, and we've already made a bunch of new friends just through it and stuff.
Yeah,
so
that's the best bit about it, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've already got the gear. I'm not on webcam, but I can see you've all geared up and like you've got like professional microphones and all such.
Oh yeah.
I've got
all the gear, no idea.
All right, I'll shoot off then, lads. Enjoy the rest of your show. Take it easy.
Nice.
Right,
thank you so much for joining, mate.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice afternoon.
You too, lads.
So-
Bye.
Well, that was lovely of him. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that, man. It's always nice to speak to Connor and get a fresh perspective on that kind of thing, man. For sure.
And do you know what it is? But obviously, having listened to Dungeon Punks for quite a while, and then listening to Middle Earth Crisis, which is, for people who aren't familiar, is a bit of a Dungeon Punk spin-off. I actually find it easier to listen to Middle Earth Crisis because, I really enjoy that hobby aspect of it anyway, and you don't get loads of that in Dungeon Punks. You do get it in bits and pieces, of course you do, and it's part of it's one of the many flavours that makes the special brew that is Dungeon Punks. But with Middle Earth Crisis, it's purely all about that hobby. So I'm zoned into it all the time. I'm kind of listening to it, and I'm getting a lot out of it. And also, it's a lot easier just to listen to two people.
True. Yeah, very true. I think it was part of the mission statement with what we're doing here as well, isn't it? It's a lot easier to follow conversations, and it's a lot easier to stay on topic with certain things. And it's great to hear, especially Paolo knows loads about painting and like the practical elements of not just applying the paint to the models, but keeping your paints and stuff like that. And that's always really interesting to hear about actual advice on the hobby.
So anyone who's not just into it but also enjoys the paint and modelling side of it or whatever could do far worse than go over and check out Middle Earth Crisis. So I'll be posting about it and putting a link to their podcast in the Instagram, and we'll push them on Discord and stuff as well.
Yeah, man. Check those guys out as well. Check out Dungeon Punks. I'm sure long-time listeners at this point will have heard us talk about them a little bit. We're friends, aren't we? Let's put it that way. I don't know. Stay tuned for more stuff. We're going to have Connor back on in the future. Probably try and get Paolo on as well to talk some more about painting and the hobby side of things.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get the pair of them on, I think, next time, and get them to do it.
Ooh, I like that. Idea.
Increase the head count in the meeting.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so next time then we'll get will be a full convergence between HEF and MEC, and we'll try and get them all together for.
The stars will align.
The stars will align. Well, thank you very much for the episode as always, Jamie. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, nice.
We'll see you next time. Stay hydrated, guys. Thank you.